You are listening to Heart Over Ego Radio. We are a network of shows with a lineup that's sure to raise your vibrations and guide you into your best life. Tune in on Sundays to Everyday Psychic Radio. On Mondays, it's the Alchemy Sisters. Tuesdays, it's Radical Spirituality. On Wednesdays, it's All for One is Love. And on Fridays, take a listen to Rain Radio. Amazing shows produced just for you 5 days a week, only on Blog Talk Radio. This is a Heart Over Ego Radio production.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rain Radio, where we have juicy conversations that lead to powerful transformations. We are your hosts. I am Naomi Calderon.
And I'm Lila Sage. And today we are discussing panic, inflexibility, and the attachment to outcome, and how that keeps you out of your power and what to do about it. So, grab your drink, your journal, put on your crown, and let's chat. Are you... you're packing, so that means you're drinking rum, right?
Oh, God, if only. No, I'm drinking water right now. However, now that you say that, I may crack open a bottle of wine later.
Mm-hmm. I approve of this choice. Not that you asked for my approval or require it, but I'm giving it enthusiastically.
But I get it anyway.
Yes, this is my endorsement. I endorse wine for people that can drink it.
Right.
My guides have me on a alcohol light diet, which includes wine.
Mm-hmm. I so rarely drink. I don't think my guides really would even know what to do with it if I said, "Hey, I'm going to have a bottle." They'd be like, "Wait, what?" I have a glass of wine maybe 3 times a year.
Right. Yes. Same these. But even then, they're like, "You should probably not." I'm like, "Okay, fine."
Mine would probably say, if it will keep you out of the ding-dongs, not that we have any in the house, but, they might say, go ahead. Because, yes, I'm packing. Packing is always fun. Talk about panic. What a perfect day to talk panic. What are you drinking? Because my guess is you're not drinking rum either.
I am not drinking rum. I have water waiting for the Bach flower essences to make their way out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. And then there will be water.
Bach flower essences are awesome.
We should probably get super nerdy about them in a future conversation. But right now, let me say that the hornbeam for procrastination, I needed this 30 years ago.
Ooh.
It is floating my boat and rocking my world. And the funny thing is, I was a rescue remedy person when I lived in Memphis. Mm-hmm. Why did I not look at the other essences? What was going on in my world? It wasn't time. But now that it's time, I am having a party.
Well, and to me, and we're completely going off topic, but that's okay. I think this is an important topic. Maybe we change today's topic. I don't know. To me, the flower essences, like the essential oils and herbal concoctions, they're great. The pre-blended ones, the Google which combo you should use ones, I think are fabulous. However, there is something to be said to working with a practitioner who has studied it in depth and can tailor those Chinese herbs or other herbs, Chinese, Ayurvedic, whichever way you go, whichever way you swing on that. The flower essences, the essential oils, I think that the people who have the training, the skill, and the intuitive abilities to do a proper tailored blend to you, how freaking powerful is all that?
So far, epic.
Right? Just what you're saying with the procrastination. I'm like, oh, note to self. I should get that. But again, probably would be, I mean, most entrepreneurs I talk to, or anyone with a goal, frankly, often will say, I keep procrastinating. How do I get motivated? And so I think that's where the good for everyone blends can be helpful, but I might have to check into that one because,
Yeah. And the interesting thing is the ones that go into my blend, so those of you who have not been having Naomi and I's private conversations for the last 2 weeks, I got a custom blend from my new naturopath. And some of the ones that are in my blend I wouldn't have chosen for sure, but it's clearly working.
Right? See, and that's where I think that the custom blends that are tailored for what's going on with you at that moment are really helpful. And actually, the procrastination conversation does, to me, tie into what we're going to be talking about today. Because to me, when I'm in panic mode, I usually do procrastinate because I'm spinning out. Now, you might think that being in the midst of packing, other than moving companies, is there anybody who actually really enjoys that? If so, please comment below and tell me what you like about it, because I need so much. Oh my God. I'm happy to be sorting through stuff, but what a pain in the ass. It's like having to fold the laundry after it's done. Can't the dryer just do that part and put it away? You know, it's that piece of it. It's like, I know it has to be done, but it's not nearly as much fun as fun stuff. But I'm not in panic mode. Now talk to me in 3 weeks. Hopefully we'll have made enough headway that I won't be. But panic mode and procrastination for me often go together, because if I'm super panicky, I tend to do a bunch of shit to check out and procrastinate on the stuff that would probably help move me beyond panic. That's been my MO in the past. And I still sometimes see it crop up and it's like, that's that. Oh, dang it.
So it's a nervous system response. It's the freeze part of the fight, flight, or freeze. And that's my favorite one. That's why I don't move at the pace that I could move at. If I did not freeze it so much, then I would not move, I would move at a much quicker pace. And I think that that's where the procrastination comes from, is going into that freeze part of the fight or flight.
Yeah, I think often the procrastination comes from that, or somebody's telling themselves they should be doing something that's bumping up against their values. That's a different conversation. Well, that takes us down a slightly different. Yeah, that takes us down a slightly different rabbit hole than the panic and the attachment to outcomes. But if I'm procrastinating, wow, that's profound in and of its freaking self. Wow, we might have to unpack that one. Right? Pod and POC. Destroy and uncreate times a godzillion. Yes. If I'm procrastinating, sometimes it's because I'm having to do something that I just don't find fun. I don't want to do it. Or because I feel like I have to. I don't feel like it. I'd rather go do my nails or read a book or watch Oprah and eat bonbons. I don't know. Whatever it is. Go play extreme laser tag, That sounded like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But So that's more of a bumping up against values, motivation side of things. But the panic spin out procrastination for me, and they feel very different in my body.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually know which one I'm in, not always in the moment, because in the moment I'm just spinning or avoiding. But those panicky moments of procrastination feel different because you've got that, for me, I've got that panic feeling, which sometimes, like you said, there's that physiological response. It can be heart palpitations. It can just be this nervous pacing, you know, I sit down, I get up, I sit down, I get up, I sit down, I get, you know, I move something from one room to the other room, and then I move something else, and not actually getting anything done.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the difference between the two. Both have a physiological response, but for me, they feel different.
Panic for me is rare, or at least my awareness and acknowledgement of it. And I think that comes from learning how to wait. So one of my childhood traumas is wanting something and having no control over being able to get it for myself. Maybe it's a pony. In my experience, it was to move with my mother. So I was living with my grandparents, and I wanted to move with my mom. And that desire, it was like a burning desire. We always talk about having burning desires. Well, this is a burning desire that burned itself out after 4 years. I think after 2 years, I decided that it didn't matter because I wasn't going to get it anyway. However, a lovely side effect of that is I learned how to wait because I eventually got it. I eventually got to move with my mom. And there have been a lot of times since then that I have been able to be patient for longer than probably the average person would have been willing to be patient. The average person would probably throw a fit months or even years sooner than I throw fits. I throw fits. If you have been listening to me for any length of time, you know that I will yell at God and the universe and the angels and anybody else within earshot when I reach like my toddler setup phase of I want it and I want it 15 minutes ago.
And how does that for you relate to the panic piece?
That's when I feel it, is when I reach that. And it's usually around something that feels like life or death. So I felt it when I needed a new place to live because my current roommate situation was coming to an end and it was unbearable and unpleasant. And I did not see options. So I sat in my car sobbing and screaming. And that, like, throwing a fit with the universe is probably the result of the panic.
Got it.
Well, and I don't see any options.
I was going to say, and that right there is, I think, the key piece. Typically, based on my own experience, hearing you put it that way, and the clients that I've worked with and the people I've talked to, is that's the thing about panic, is when we're in that space, often it doesn't seem like or feel like or look like there are any other options. We feel like we are out of them and don't know what to do. We can't find a solution to whatever the situation or the problem is, right?
Yeah.
And it's never fun. Now, choice is a powerful thing. Suffering is always optional. However, sometimes when you're in the thick of shit, you can't see any, it doesn't look like multiple choice, right? And panic will set in, can set in. So I think that's a really profound piece to look at is, and I don't feel like there are any other options, or I can't see any other options, depending on if you're a visual, if you're kinesthetic, or I don't think there are any other options. Whatever it is for you, I think that's a really great point. Now, besides yelling, screaming, cussing out your crew, all of which can be very cathartic and effective.
Cathartic.
Definitely the cathartic part. Catharsis is helpful, because sometimes that alone, sometimes physically getting it out like that, at least helps you be able to regroup.
Yeah. And that's what it does. I don't think that they're sitting around like, oh, she's really upset with us. Let us, like, get to work.
Oh, wait, now don't tell me that.
I think it's more for us. I think everything we do on this plane is more for us than anything else. They're already working on our behalf.
Oh, okay.
And there's resistance a lot of the times. Most of the time, everything that we don't have is because we either don't have the capacity to receive it or we are in resistance.
Okay, that right there makes me want to throw one of those temper tantrums you're talking about.
I love you.
I know, I love you too. What? Wow, dang.
Yeah. Yeah. So the fit that I throw moves me out of the panic. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it just makes just enough space for someone to offer me a job, and then for me to move based on that job offer, like it's yours, here, you can have it. Then I can say, oh, well, let me take this apartment because now I can afford it because I have a job.
Right.
And it was already there and it was already available, but I couldn't connect with it because I was in so much resistance that I moved into panic. Because nothing was happening.
Well, and as you're saying that, being kinesthetic and stuck in that, it's like I'm drowning in feelings if this happens. And by physically moving my body, throwing a fit, because usually if I'm throwing a fit, I'm not just sitting still. Even if I'm in my car, there may be steering wheel pounding happening. There may be great full body racking sobs, which again isn't like running a marathon, but it's the physical cathartic expression of that. Then for me, it's easier to step back once those feelings have been able to be expressed. Like you said, sometimes it's just enough of an opening for my logical brain to take over and my inner nerd to go, okay, what do we got to do? What do we got to get done? Let's make this happen. And not always. It's not always like, oh, well, that was just so easy to do and move through. Ha!
Oh, God, no. It didn't seem easy even as I was doing it.
Yeah.
It's in hindsight that I'm like, that was the moment.
Yeah.
That night when I sat in my car and screamed at everybody.
Right.
That was the moment. That was the moment that I released enough resistance for them to step in and align the things for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting, too, you say that, panic isn't a typical thing for you.
No, if I'm panicked, it's serious.
It's gotten bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I think back in the day, I probably lived with a lot of chronic panic, but I would not have labeled it that way.
Okay.
And looking back at it, I'm like, would I label it panic or would I label it hypervigilance? And is there a difference? I don't know.
So I can't speak for you, but I'll tell you my experience. Panic was the extreme, but I lived in a constant state of fear. Panic was what usually came when I didn't see any way out of whatever corner I had painted myself into with the fear. But I was always afraid that there wouldn't be more money, which is hilarious and ridiculous today. I was always afraid of being abandoned again. And I'm sure that if I thought really hard, I could come up with the other things that I was in constant fear of.
But would you relate to those as panic or simply fear?
It was just fear. The panic was if I saw my bank account at zero and I needed something or my children needed something and I didn't see a way to create it, that was when panic set in.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would say for me, I've had periods of time where I lived in a lot of space of fear. The panic part, I think my experience of panic, my conscious experience of panic, honestly, was hitting perimenopause. And it wasn't because, oh my God, I'm hitting perimenopause. It was an actual physical reaction in the body, this sense of fight or flight or freeze. And that panic would show up. So I know for me, a lot of it is a physiological imbalance that creates this sense of panic, and sometimes over not a damn thing. So for me, that's somebody, in one of the entrepreneur groups I'm in, somebody had posted, hey, does anybody here work with anxiety or panic kind of thing? And I'm like, well, yeah. And of course, people are like, oh, you should use CBD oil. And please know, I'm not against CBD oil. It really does help with anxiety. However, I like to know, is somebody's anxiety caused by a physiological imbalance? Or is it an emotional thing that's at the basis of it? Is there an emotional trauma that's creating the panic? Often they go hand in hand, but it's nice to know what's at the root of it. So instead of band-aiding and glossing over, we actually get to the root and root that crap out. So for me, it's been more of a physiological imbalance that I've been working on once I recognized that's what was going on. But in the midst of it, I can tell you, I didn't. I couldn't have told you, oh my God, I'm panicked and it's because my estrogen and progesterone levels are really off. No, it was just like, oh my God, the sky is falling, let me run around in the circle like I'm, and flap my wings. And so addressing it nutritionally for me is what has helped a lot. Doesn't mean that there wasn't emotional crap to unpack. For me, the first line of defense that needed to happen was that nutritional and supplemental shoring up of some things. And I notice when I'm not taking them, which I'll be honest, right now, I'm not taking them to the same degree I had been, and I can feel the panic more frequently. And it's just like, oh, interesting. Panic. There should be a way to make that a 4-letter word.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so supplementation and balance and nutrition in Chinese medicine, nerd out moment, in Chinese medicine, anxiety, which I would often wrap panic into anxiety, is going to be a balancing of the spleen system. In Western medicine, we'd probably look at it, or Western culture, we'd look at it as the stomach system, because if it's like the spleen, what's that do? My answer is everything. But is balancing that and getting grounded. Because if you're really grounded, grounding foods, things like root vegetables really ground the system. Things like sweet potato and winter squash are really gentle on the stomach and help support the spleen and stomach system, and that helps to ground you. When I'm feeling grounded, I don't panic so much, right? So I'd look there. And fun, kidneys and adrenals, that system is all about fear. So for some people, panic and fear tend to be bosom buddies. So we want to also shore up that adrenal system, which also encompasses the reproductive system, and so there go your hormones. So it's sometimes working the two of them. But for me, I tend to approach it nutritionally first. So my body physically has what it needs. So now I actually have the wherewithal and the physical support to work on whatever mental or emotional aspect is also asking to be addressed. Because I find it's for me personally, it's both.
Mhm. Same.
There's an aspect of both for me.
I was going to say, I think for most people, it's all of the above.
Mm-hmm.
Because they all work together.
Yeah, they're so intertwined. The physical, the emotional, the mental. We like to try to compartmentalize shit, but I am here to tell you that's not how things work.
Yeah.
So, other than sitting in our cars screaming and throwing a fit and shaking our fists at our crew or the God or the universe or whatever, and shoring up nutrition, what else can people do if they've been living in a state of chronic panic? Because I think that's when I see the most breakdown in the body.
Mhm. Chronic anything.
Yes.
Other than joy. You said body breakdown, and my brain just went into like, what foods are we eating, Naomi?
Right. Well, yes.
What are we taking? And what flower essences are we using?
And what can somebody do? Because for me, when panic, that fun time of perimenopause, when it was all first starting, was also when we were at a point where financially didn't have the money to go see an acupuncturist and an herbalist and to get these essential oils and that flower essence and take the super expensive, really good supplements and not even frickin' buy all organic food, you know? Of course, I don't either right now. I go with the clean 15 and the dirty dozen typically. But for people who aren't going to go into Whole Foods or somewhere, and Whole Foods, if you'd like to send us free stuff for mentioning you, that's okay. Who aren't going to go somewhere like that and get the expensive concoctions to support their system. What are some things that they can do? Because I couldn't have done that at that point in time.
Good question.
What tools are there?
I mean, there's always breathing. When we are panicked, we are not breathing. So if you can find enough space to remind yourself to breathe, then you're going to be further along the path of getting to herbs and oils and fancy remedies than if you just stay in that state of shallow breathing, like really deep breathing. Also, find a way to move it out of your body. Like, that's what throwing the fit in my car was about. But I also used to go on angry runs, which is different than panic. And with a panic, I'm not, like, everyone's idea of comfort's going to be different. And I think when you're in a state of panic, what you need more than anything else is to be soothed. And so if you can be cuddled, be cuddled. If you can't be cuddled, cuddle yourself. If a weighted blanket is not in your repertoire, then pile 13 blankets on your bed. I don't have 13 on mine, but I literally have 6 because weighted blankets are a thing for me, and I'm also not about to right now spend over $100 on one because I have a pretty big bed. So take the blankets I have, fold them in half, and put them on my side of the bed. The end.
Oh my God, that would kill me. I'd hate that.
I know, you would melt. But for those of us who run, 10 degrees below normal,
right?
It's perfectly fine. And the weight, like even if you're not held under 1,000 blankets and you're just under a weighted blanket, the weight will soothe your nervous system.
I can't, even the thought of that is just, I want mine to be super lightweight, but really, really fluffy. Isn't that?
Yeah.
Everybody's different. Everybody is different.
For me, that would be cozy.
I think for me, cozy is comforting. Weight,
okay.
Get this off of me. Ugh. I wonder if I suffocated in a previous life or something.
I wonder. Or maybe, everybody's different. And hormones, and everybody's different. I am you put me on a warm table, and I'm like, yes. Put somebody else on a warm table, and they're like, get me off now. I have 2 heated blankets on my bed. My enjoyable other would melt.
Yeah. That can't be very... How do you do... Is it because you fold them in half and so they're not on his side?
Yeah, my half is heated. His half isn't.
Huh.
So the one that goes underneath, one's a mattress cover and one's a blanket. So I am heated from both sides. So the mattress cover, I only plugged in my half. His half isn't even plugged in.
You can do that. Okay, see, I'm learning all sorts of new things today. I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't know that existed.
I wouldn't have bought it otherwise because he would melt. And when he's hot, I don't sleep because he flops around the bed like an octopus.
Oh, God.
Yes, it's not okay.
Or fun. Thanks.
So I have a layer on the bottom and a layer on the top.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a baby in an incubator, and I sleep so good. He would melt.
So funny.
When it's really cold, he sticks his feet in, but otherwise.
So weighted blankets or something like that will comfort you, whatever that comfort is.
Or whatever comfort works for you.
You had talked about, you mentioned that you would go on angry runs. My very first ever coach, and this was like back in 2005 or 6. It's been a while. It's been a minute. Very first coach that I hired, something I was spinning out about. Good luck knowing what. And that was her assignment to me, was go for a run until your legs quit. Like they can't take you a step further. And I did. And at that point in time, I could run pretty far because I was working as a personal trainer, so I was in pretty good shape. And so I ran and 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 ran and I ran. It seemed like forever. And finally, when my legs just could not go anymore because of that physical movement, it's like all of a sudden I just started sobbing. So all the crap that was stored up that I was swirling in and panicking through and not seeing the way through to something different had to have that physical exhaustion almost for it to be able to come up and out. So yeah, running only costs you if you don't have shoes, it will cost you the shoes. But outside of that, it doesn't cost you anything. Yeah. That can be a good thing.
There's running. There's yoga if you're averse to running like I am.
Oh, yoga's great. And that brings in that breathing part that you're talking about, too. There's some great yogic breathing exercises that are fantastic. But yeah, chest openers. If you're panicking, open up that chest.
Yeah. Akoya class, Qoya, for those of you who are like, what did you just say? Akoya class is phenomenal for moving energy, and we are I think we're international now, so you can probably find a Koya class near you. And each class is themed, but what I found is theme or no theme, giving my body permission to move the way she wants to move to the beat of some music, especially if there's good bass, is medicine. It's medicine no matter what emotion I'm working to move. Panic is not a whole lot different. And if you cannot find a Koya class near you, then YouTube Koya shaking. And I will make myself a note to put this in the show notes. Because especially for panic, since we're talking about panic, shaking is a powerful way to move any emotion through the body. And the way it's explained in Koya is you start shaking one hand and don't do anything with the other hand. And there's a story about a gazelle, and she's out on the plains nibbling some grasses with her girls, and out of nowhere comes this lion and starts chasing her. And she runs and runs and runs and finally gets away and then goes behind a tree and shakes. She doesn't go to therapy. She doesn't need oils or herbs. She just shakes. And then goes on about her life. And then when you compare the hand that you shook to the hand that you didn't shake, and you can see there's like exponentially more life in the hand that shook than the hand that didn't shake.
It's tingling. That's what I was just doing.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see what you were talking about. It's tingly.
It
feels
tingly.
More. There's more vibration.
Yeah. And the one that you didn't shake feels
sweaty.
So you can be sweaty or you can be tingly.
Right. Well, and it does. It feels there's not the same vibration. It doesn't feel as open, I guess, is a good way of trying to describe what I'm feeling. But yeah, that's interesting, because the first time you mentioned Koya shaking, I'm like, I'll just get my trampoline out, thanks.
Trampolining is good too. Good for the lymph system.
Also helpful for the lymph system, yes, absolutely. Well, and one of the things too, when you're panicked, reach out to someone. And I can tell you, with the year of asks that Lila and I did, and even now, if I'm panicking about something, there's very select people I will call. Lila happens to be one of them. But if I'm truly panicking, a lot of times I don't even know what to ask for, other than I just know I'm freaking out. But so having those people who, and what I love about Lila, I'm going to talk about her like she's not here. What I love about Lila and our other prayer partner, Lisa, when I reach out to them, if I'm in the middle of something, I can let them know, look, I just need to vent a minute, and then, verbal vomit all of it out. Sometimes it's, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I need help. And they're both absolutely wonderful about just simply holding the space for me to be where I'm at. And neither one of them are willing to co-sign my bullshit. So if I'm like, oh my God, I'm panicking, I'm freaking out, all of life sucks and I don't know what to do, and having one of those moments, first of all, usually my husband asks me to look at my calendar to see where I'm at in my cycle. And for those of you who just got offended, please know it's a good thing when he does that. But Lila and Lisa are both really great at saying, okay, great, what do you need? And in that moment, I might just need to fall apart, because sometimes when panic hits, that's how we feel, right? I just need to have this moment of freak out, and then I'll be okay. Other times it's like, I'm freaking out, and I don't know what to do, and I need help. And they're really wonderful about being able to see the forest for the trees, because when we're panicking, we can't.
Right.
And then there's sometimes a third option.
Of the panic.
Yeah. yeah. Sometimes I can't even see that. I just know I'm spinning. Now, other times, panic sometimes shows up. Maybe this doesn't ever happen for you, and if not, yay, celebrate that. Sometimes panic shows up, and I'm enjoying sitting in my crap. There's something I'm getting out of being in panic mode. Maybe it's procrastination, because if I'm panicked, I don't have to be productive. If I'm panicked, I get to check out. If I'm panicked, I don't have to be responsible. If I'm panicked, fill in the blank. If I'm panicked and I'm staying there, often it's because there's something I'm getting from it. And if I go to Lisa and Lila, if you've been listening to our podcast for a while, you know that she's absolutely wonderful. She's this beautiful soul, always joyful. Well, always joyful. As much as any of us as two-leggeds can always be joyful. I mean, she's not a Pollyanna. I'm going to call,
I was going to laugh because I did send out a message about my homicidal desires last night.
She's 98% of the time she's joyful. She's two-legged like the rest of us, right?
It's like, I'm going to kill people.
I will kill people, but first flower essences. Oh, look, life is better. And but if I'm sitting in it and I'm stewing in it and I'm having fun stewing in it, she's not going to buy into that. She's not going to co-sign my crap for me. She will let me feel my feels, which is appreciated. Because if we're feeling something and somebody tries to dismiss it, or if we're feeling something and they're like, oh, well, why don't you just let it go?
Oh,
really?
God. Yeah.
Right? Well, fuck you too,
go,
very
Naomi.
much. Yeah. Just stop panicking. Oh, okay. Let me try that. Yeah, not when you're in it. Right? When you're in it, no. Now, sometimes we can quantum linguistic the crap out of it and shift it. But reach out to people. If you're panicked, there is help. Sometimes that's professional help. Sometimes that's a friend who will let you feel what you're feeling and not allow you to stay wallowing, because you're not looking to be fixed, but you also don't want somebody who's like, oh, I know, girl, you should be so panicked. Let me fuel your panic fire for you. Don't call those people. Call the people who won't co-sign your crap. But also call those people who have enough compassion to not be always trying to fix your crap, but let you feel what you're feeling. That's my soapbox on that.
I love it. I approve of the soapbox. Sweet. I am a talker, so I am a fan of calling other people. Sometimes just to be like, okay, so will you be in my head with me? It gets weird up here when I'm alone. What other things can people do when they're in panic?
I have become such a fan, thanks to you, of access consciousness. And there are moments, usually if I'm struggling with crabbiness, maybe more so than panic, there are moments when I'm in the thick of it, I can't bring myself to ask some of the good questions that will help me shift some stuff. Because sometimes I don't want to look at, what about this is about me? That's the question I ask my clients a lot. And they probably feel about it exactly how I just asked it, right? Sometimes I'm not willing to look at, what about this is right? Really? F you. Nothing. I'm panicking. I'm freaking out right now and about to spin the fuck out. Nothing is right about this. Screw you and that stupid question, right?
Yeah. So probably a more helpful question when you're in panic is, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
What is this? Because it takes you out of panic and brings you into awareness.
And is it mine?
Is this even mine? Let me tell you how many times the answer to that question is no. So last week, I am crying while I prepare dinner, and I have no idea why I'm sad. And I message a friend, and I'm like, hey, I know I'm working on something for you. I have to take a break right now because I'm crying. I'm sad, and I don't know why I'm sad. And I'll come back to it. I just want you to know, like, I'm not blowing you off. I'm not being a flake. I just can't, like, right now. So, like, start making dinner, and I'm crying while I stuff this chicken. And I have the thought, is this even mine? And like, my first response is tears, 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 and then nothing, as if I was never sad, which tells me that some of it was mine, or I wouldn't have cried the tears. But also, most of that shit wasn't mine because it left. It just packed itself up and went on its way. And I was like, well.
And then there's that.
Yeah.
And that can be panic as well. That can be any emotion, especially for those of you who would typify yourselves as either empaths or highly sensitive people. But even those of us who don't label ourselves that, we're probably more sensitive than we realize. I had a similar experience yesterday at the chiropractor, and I forgot to take my medicine, my bear medicine with me, and we're there. And after we left, I'm like, was there someone recently in there who was just like really, really grieving? And my lovely half side was like, yep, 2 people. And I'm like, because I'm just overwhelmed with this sense of sadness and grief, and it doesn't feel like it's mine. He's like, it's not. So it's any emotion can be that, a sense or state of panic, especially if you're like, there's really nothing for me to be panicked about. What is this about? It might not be yours. That could also be something physiological, again, we'd look at. But yeah, sometimes we have to ask that question before we get into some of the deeper ones to really tune in. And if the answer is yes, it is mine, I have found your energy pull when you do that work amazing.
Well, thank you.
Yes, that, and as well as the golden light. So, that one, but for people who have some discretionary income to spend, call Lila if you're in a panic mode.
Oh, God, yes. Call me if you're in a panic mode. I'm so good with that.
Right? You want to do, if it's a chronic thing and you want to do some timeline work, great. PM me. Let's set it up. If you're like, I wish I could afford you guys, but that's part of my panic. There are some really great free resources. There are some people who have generously done recordings online. And Lila, can we drop a couple of names or links for people maybe in the show notes of where they can find some of the Access Consciousness energy pulls? Because I found those to be really helpful to, you were talking expanding capacity. That right there, for me, was a huge help in expanding capacity.
Okay, thanks for saying that. Yes, I put people. Excellent. I'll add them to the show notes while you're listening, so that you don't have to leave the podcast and go find show notes and figure out what I'm talking about. Crystal Crawford is absolutely spectacularly phenomenal, and you can find her on YouTube and SoundCloud. Heather Nichols, I believe that she has some free energy polls as well, NICHOLS. And my first experience with an energy pull was with Blossom Benedict, who is not actively an Access Consciousness certified facilitator at present, but I believe those videos still exist online.
Does Sarah have any online free? Do you know?
I don't know what Sarah's YouTube looks like because I haven't been there, but Sarah Grandinetti,
Love her.
you can find her on YouTube or on Facebook, and I know that she's got videos on her business page, but I don't know about her YouTube presence.
Got it. Okay.
But I'll
those
look
are some good
and I'll put
resources.
it in the show notes. I love Sarah immensely. I love listening to her teachings and her questions. She comes up with the best questions.
Yeah. But so those are some really good resources. And again, from a physiological standpoint, breathe deep, move your body, get some grounding in, whether it's you go hug a tree, and people, I'm not kidding, I've actually literally done it, if you need to. Stick your feet in the dirt.
If it's not 5 degrees where you live.
Yeah, if it's not 5 degrees where you live, go stick your feet in the dirt. If it is 5 degrees, wait till spring or summer, show up. But do something in nature. Bundle up and go outside for a minute. Breathe in some fresh air. Or bring nature into you if you need to.
Be a plant lady.
Right, be a plant lady or get some rocks. I'm a big fan of rocks.
Like crystals or rocks, like I picked these up off the floor or the ground?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
No, I'm both. And I've loved rocks. Yeah. We'd go to the rock shows when I was little and loved it. It's like, oh, I love the rocks. And I still do. Yeah. Sometimes they're just ones that I found outside that I think are cool. And sometimes they're crystals for specific purposes. But do what you can. There are ways to get out of the immediacy of panic, and there are ways to move beyond chronic panic. And the more we can practice being present, and I say we because that includes myself, the more we practice being present, the easier it becomes. Because if my panic is about, I'll use my current situation, if my panic is about getting our entire place packed up so we can move, and oh my God, we only have 3 weeks, panic starts to set in because I'm already projecting out to the day of moving, which has nothing to do with this immediate moment. And then taking action today in this immediate moment, well, not while we're recording, but, taking action today in this moment, being present to this moment, celebrating what I'm working on, celebrating the accomplishments I've made, celebrating each of those pieces, and creating a plan. For me, when I have a plan, then I don't feel so much panic. Because the panic is about the end of the month, not right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Made a lot of sense in my head.
No, it makes perfect sense. The reason that I gasped is because I was reminded of something else. The conversation that you have with yourself can also affect the panic immensely, massively, humongously. So you look at, oh my God, I only have 3 weeks, or I have 3 whole weeks.
Exactly.
And it's a shift in perspective, and it's super powerful. But sometimes you've got to be like, so my husband is a football player, which amuses me because he was like 150 pounds when we met, and I'm just like, they're gonna squash you. But anyways, a lot of the times when he's getting ready for a game, because he was 150 pounds, I would walk past the bathroom and go like, what are you doing in there? And he is like, you got this, you are a beast, you are going to go out there, you are going to kill it. And just like, you're going to run into somebody and give yourself a concussion. And that happened.
Oh,
that was not what I thought was going to happen. That was a thing that actually happened. And that conversation, like, that was one of the blessings that came out of that relationship, is looking at the power of self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation that I have with myself, that I got this, I can do this, everything's fine, I can handle this, goes a really long way. And it keeps the people in my house alive.
They should really appreciate what goes on in your head. And I love how you brought it up just with the whole, because I think we could and probably will do another episode on the conversations in our head and just the subtle tweakings, because it was the same amount of time frame, 3 weeks. Oh crap, I only have 3 weeks, versus, oh my gosh, I have an entire 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Same amount of time, completely different perspective, and the feeling that goes with it. And I understand if you're deep in panic mode, it's sometimes a challenge to shift that conversation in your head.
Yeah, it doesn't always make the physiological switch that quickly. Like, sometimes when it's self-talk and you are like deep in it, you have to. So someone messaged me yesterday, and I gave her this prayer to pray. Right where I am, God is, and all is well.
Ooh, I like that.
Right. And, I told her I have had to say that hundreds of times an hour to feel better. But it works. Really doesn't matter what you're saying to yourself, as long as you're saying something to yourself in the direction of how you would like to feel.
Mm-hmm.
So if the conversation you're having with yourself is moving you away from panic, have that conversation with yourself. It's fine. As long as if we can get through this, we can have popcorn.
Okay, now I want freaking popcorn. Great.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But that's a really good reminder, because and the fact that you said that you sometimes have to say that like a million times in an hour, that's okay. Yeah. There are times when something along those lines, although I want that exact one, so you'll have to text that to me after we're done, because that was fabulous, is, I'm so bossy, I'll say it once, and it's like in the back of my mind, it's like, yeah, right, God's here. I'm freaking out. God isn't right here. I am freaking out. Everything is wrong. That kind of thing, if that's what shows up for you as panic. Now you know what kind of my panic looks like and sounds like. But if I just keep saying it over and over and over and over, if nothing else, it gives me something to focus on other than the panic. And what you focus on is what expands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes we get a little slippery with that self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a conversation with myself about my conversations with myself today. Because of that, it was like, oh, I've been doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been giving something power where I don't want to be giving something power because of my self-talk. And panic can be the same way. If all I'm doing is, but I have anxiety and I'm panic, I get panic attacks a lot, and all I'm doing is constantly saying, I have anxiety and I get panic attacks a lot, guess what I'm giving power to?
Mm-hmm.
The panic attacks.
And, you know, in that same vein, there's a different energy to sometimes I get panic attacks and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just adding on it and it's okay can diffuse the energy of I get panic attacks. Because we're not like asking you to ignore reality.
Right.
As much as just diffuse the momentum of the emotion.
Yes. The other thing you added to that for me, just hearing it said differently, switched it, is you said, I sometimes get panic attacks. If I say I get panic attacks, I have panic attacks, it's, for me, almost like that's an all the time thing. That's more like a constant. But when you say I sometimes get panic attacks, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes automatically for me spreads it out. So it's not a who I am and part of my being. This just occasionally happens. Like occasionally I get headaches. Okay, great. Instead of, oh yeah, I have headaches. Because to me, in my mind, I then hear all the time. So yeah, sometimes it's just like you were saying, moving. First of all, making it okay so you're not making yourself wrong about crap, right?
Yeah.
But also what's going to move you away from the panic and toward what it is you want instead. I love it. You're so brilliant.
We are, and we're a great team.
Absolutely. So I know there were a couple aspects we didn't even get to, so I think we might have to have a part 2 on this. What are your thoughts? Because we didn't even get to the not being attached to
inflexibility or attachment to income.
Oh yeah, the F word. The F word.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I've learned a lot about the F word.
Yeah.
My current relationship has taught me a lot. Oh God, I'm parenting.
That one is my least favorite F word. I think. Well, shall we table it until later for those 2 pieces, the aspect of flexibility and being attached to the outcome as they pertain to panic? So stay tuned for part 2.
Excellent. In the meantime, try some breathing. Work to move the panic out of your body. Give us your favorite grounding activity. Mine is a visualization. That's super fun. Where you grow a tail, and then you attach that tail to the core of the earth. Super grounded.
That's funny. That just creeped me out. Go ahead.
Heidi did it with me, and it was so good. I just wanted a nap afterwards.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. But give us your favorites in the comments.
Yeah.
And we will talk to you guys next time.
Bye, everyone.